Amazon Web Services, AWS, Terminology Flashcards. Set 5. AWS SDK for PHP. AWS SDK for PHP is a software development kit and open-source PHP library for integrating your PHP application with AWS services like Amazon S3, Amazon S3 Glacier, and Amazon DynamoDB. AWS SDK for Python, Boto. AWS SDK for Python, Boto, is a software development kit for using Python to access AWS services like Amazon EC2, Amazon EMR, Amazon EC2 Auto Scaling, Amazon Kinesis, AWS Lambda, and more. AWS SDK for Ruby. AWS SDK for Ruby is a software development kit for accessing AWS services from Ruby. The SDK provides Ruby classes for many AWS services including Amazon S3, Amazon EC2, Amazon DynamoDB, and more. The single, downloadable package includes the AWS Ruby library and documentation. AWS Secrets Manager. AWS Secrets Manager is a service for securely encrypting, storing, and rotating credentials for databases and other services. AWS Security Hub. AWS Security Hub is a service that provides a comprehensive view of the security state of your AWS resources. Security Hub collects security data from AWS accounts and services and helps you analyze your security trends to identify and prioritize the security issues across your AWS environment. AWS Security Token Service, AWS STS. AWS Security Token Service, AWS STS, is a web service for requesting temporary, limited privilege credentials for AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, users or for users that you authenticate, federated users. AWS Service Catalog. AWS Service Catalog is a web service that helps organizations create and manage catalogs of IT services that are approved for use on AWS. These IT services can include everything from virtual machine images, servers, software, and databases to complete multi-tier application architectures. AWS Shield. AWS Shield is a service that helps to protect your resources such as Amazon EC2 instances, Elastic Load Balancers, Amazon CloudFront distributions, and root, Wi-Fi 3 hosted zones against DDoS attacks. AWS Shield is automatically included at no extra cost beyond what you already pay for AWS WAF and your other AWS services. For added protection against DDoS attacks, AWS offers AWS Shield Advanced. AWS Single Sign-On. AWS Single Sign-On is a cloud-based service that simplifies managing SSO access to AWS accounts and business applications. You can control SSO access and user permissions across all your AWS accounts in AWS organizations. AWS Snowball. AWS Snowball is a petabyte-scale data transport solution that uses devices designed to be secure to transfer large amounts of data into and out of the AWS cloud. AWS Step Functions. AWS Step Functions is a web service that coordinates the components of distributed applications as a series of steps in a visual workflow. AWS Storage Gateway. AWS Storage Gateway is a web service that connects an on-premises software appliance with cloud-based storage. AWS Storage Gateway provides seamless and secure integration between an organization's on-premises IT environment and AWS storage infrastructure. AWS Toolkit for Eclipse. AWS Toolkit for Eclipse is an open-source plugin for the Eclipse Java Integrated Development Environment, IDE, that makes it easier to develop, debug, and deploy Java applications using Amazon Web Services. AWS Toolkit for JetBrains. AWS Toolkit for JetBrains is an open-source plugin for the Integrated Development Environments, IDEs, from JetBrains that makes it easier to develop, debug, and deploy serverless applications using Amazon Web Services. AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio. AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio is an extension for Visual Studio that helps in developing, debugging, and deploying .NET applications using Amazon Web Services. AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio Code is an open-source plugin for the Visual Studio Code (VS Code) editor that makes it easier to develop, debug, and deploy applications using Amazon Web Services. AWS Tools for Windows PowerShell. AWS Tools for Windows PowerShell is a set of PowerShell templates to help developers and administrators manage their AWS services from the Windows PowerShell scripting environment. AWS Trusted Advisor. AWS Trusted Advisor is a web service that inspects your AWS environment and makes recommendations for saving money, improving system availability and performance, and helping to close security gaps. AWS WAF. AWS WAF is a web application firewall service that controls access to content by allowing or blocking web requests based on criteria that you specify. For example, you can filter access based on the header values or the IP addresses that the requests originate from. AWS WAF helps protect web applications from common web exploits that could affect application availability, compromise security, or consume excessive resources. AWS X-Ray. AWS X-Ray is a web service that collects data about requests that your application serves. X-Ray provides tools that you can use to view, filter, and gain insights into that data to identify issues and opportunities for optimization. Block. Block is a data set. Amazon EMR breaks large amounts of data into subsets. Each subset is called a data block. Amazon EMR assigns an ID to each block and uses a hash table to keep track of block processing. Block device. Block device is a storage device that supports reading and, optionally, writing data in fixed-size blocks, sectors, or clusters. Block device mapping. Block device mapping is a mapping structure for every AMI and instance that specifies the block devices attached to the instance. Bootstrap action. Bootstrap action is a user-specified default or custom action that runs a script or an application on all nodes of a job flow before Hadoop starts. Bundling. Bundling is a commonly used term for creating an Amazon Machine Image, AMI. It specifically refers to creating instance store-backed AMIs. Cache cluster. Cache cluster is a logical cache distributed over multiple cache nodes. A cache cluster can be set up with a specific number of cache nodes. Cache node. Cache node is a fixed-size chunk of secure, network-attached RAM. Each cache node runs an instance of the MEMC service, and has its own DNS name and port. Multiple types of cache nodes are supported, each with varying amounts of associated memory. Cache parameter group. Cache parameter group is a container for cache engine parameter values that can be applied to one or more cache clusters. Cache security group. Cache security group is a group maintained by Elasticsearch that combines inbound authorizations to cache nodes for hosts belonging to Amazon EC2 security groups specified through the console or the API or command line tools. Canned access policy. Canned access policy is a standard access control policy that you can apply to a bucket or object. Options include private, public read-write, and authenticated read. Cartesian product. Cartesian product is a mathematical operation that returns a product from multiple sets. Cartesian product processor. Cartesian product processor is a processor that calculates a Cartesian product, also known as a Cartesian data processor. Certificate. Certificate is a credential that some AWS products use to authenticate AWS accounts and users. Also known as an X.509 certificate. The certificate is paired with a private key. Classic Link. Classic Link is a feature for linking an EC2 Classic instance to a VPC, allowing your EC2 Classic instance to communicate with VPC instances using private IP addresses. Cloud Service Provider, CSP. Cloud Service Provider, CSP, is a company that provides subscribers with access to internet-hosted computing, storage, and software services. Cluster. Cluster is a logical grouping of container instances that you can place tasks on. Cluster Compute Instance. Cluster Compute Instance is a type of instance that provides a great amount of CPU power coupled with increased networking performance, making it well suited for high-performance compute, HPC, applications and other demanding network-bound applications. Cluster Placement Group. Cluster Placement Group is a logical cluster compute instance grouping to provide lower latency and high bandwidth connectivity between the instances. Code Signing for AWS IoT. Code Signing for AWS IoT is a service for signing code that you create for any IoT device that is supported by Amazon Web Services, AWS. Configuration Template. Configuration template is a series of key-value pairs that define parameters for various AWS products so that AWS Elastic Beanstalk can provision them for an environment.